First and foremost, before we get started, I like to give all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rekah Kwadash, and double honors to those Greek millstone, who I learned his truth, and also to those who lack that is scattered abroad. I like to say, Shalom. Come back here today with another great, powerful lesson through the spirit and the power of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. And the title of today's lesson is Judgment of the Lord. So I like to say shalom to all our listeners and learners. Hope to sweep you today and guide you back in the path of righteousness and back to your true power, which in fact is Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai. So before we start today's lesson, have a quick news article here. We're just going to read the title. I have videos to bring it out with more edification. And it reads that The Guardian. It says here, man dies after weight training chains around neck pulls him into MRI machine. Keith McAllister had approached machine after wife called for help and was sucked in by device magnetic force. So right here, this is judgment of the Lord. So we're going to constantly see these things pick up left and right. And the Lord, the issues of death belongs to the Lord. So the Lord is in perfect control. So the Lord brought judgment upon this brother here, so one thing about it, do anyone perish being innocent? No, they don't. So one thing about it is that, this is another, a lot of people say tragedy, but this is judgment of the Lord. So we see him now that the Lord is constantly handing down this judgment each and every day, So I seen another guy that did a lesson on this particular topic right here, which in fact, hope the Lord have mercy upon his soul. But we seeing right now that the Lord is not playing. The Lord is, he's the king of terrors. And one thing about it is, we constantly warn people each and every day, whether they will hear or whether they will forbear. And, it really does not matter at this time. The Lord is constantly, making it plain. The Lord is visiting the earth that he created. And one thing about it, once again, first his judgment will start at the house of Israel. You wicked Negroes, you wicked Latinos, you wicked Native Indians. I'm talking to you. It's time to return to your true power while you still have time. And one thing about it, if you're part of the elect, you're the only one going to get it this time around. So right here, this man right here had a weight training change around his neck and was pulled into MRI machine, which in fact is very magnetic. And we already know what happened. He was unalive. We got a video on it. So this right here, this story was kind of fishy. We're trying to figure out, why this man had this large chain. And I know a lot of people wear those type of chains for, when they working out and different things like that. But just like I said, a man's going is of the Lord. So one thing about it, the Lord, sought this up, sought those evil angels, And one thing about it, we already know that the spirit of vengeance is working every day also, so we know right now that the Lord is constantly causing these things to happen upon this earth. All sorts of things happen. If though nothing happen upon the earth unless the Lord sanctions it. So you knowing that the Lord is in perfect control. So the Lord calls these things to happen. Where the people, think, they, a lot of people think the Lord is all about good and love. The Lord love everyone. Everyone, can be saved. Let the Lord, he's not going to do any killing, and the Lord is not going to judge anyone. He's just going to come back and set everything up. Okay, now y'all all get along. Now I'm here now. It don't work like that. The Lord said, I come not to bring peace, but a sword. So we're going to see these things each and every day. So this man name was Keith McAllister. He said had approached the machine after wife called for help and was sucked in by device magnetic force. So that right there, the Lord is the king of terror. He said, I would choose your delusion. When I called, you did not answer. So one thing about it, the Lord is handing down his judgment each and every day. Hey, so the Lord, he calls these things to happen upon you. So let's go here. So the Lord, the issues of death belong to the Lord. So let's get a quick precept. Then we'll start the daily lesson. Let's go here to Deuteronomy chapter, just a quick lesson through the spirit and the power of Yahweh Shai. And once again, I hope that you will get edified. Let's go here to Deuteronomy chapter 32. We'll go straight to the point here. Let's go straight to verse 39. Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 39. Straight to the point. It says here, it says, see now that I am he, and there is no God with me. I kill, I make alive, I wound, and I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. So that's plain and simple right there. You know what it says here once again, see now that I am he, and there is no power with me. I kill, I make alive, I wound, I heal. Neither is there any that can deliver out of my hand. So no matter, what this man tried to do that day, this was his destiny. Just like when we go to that movie, Final Destination, and his final destination was unaliving. The Lord caused these things to happen left and right. The Lord is no one to be played with. The 2/3 are constantly playing games, but all the games about to be over. So I read this in the NLT. It says here, look now, I myself am he. There is no other God but me. So I am the one who kills and gives life. I am the one who wounds and heals. No one can be rescued from my powerful hand. That's the King of Terror, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. So one thing about it, you're not going to escape the hands of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. The Lord will, send those angels to do his bidding, set you up and bring you back in front of the Father and the Son. So that's, one thing about it. Now he's back in his right mind. So do anyone perish being innocent? No, they don't. So let's go here and start a day video. And after the video, we will start the lesson. And I hope that you will get edified. And once again, that, hey, the Lord is handing down his judgment each and every day. It's time to seek the Lord.
Be extremely careful with this machine. Improper operation may result in death. When entering the MRI room, you need to ensure that you have no metal items on you, especially your phone. Bringing it in could cause scratches. If the metal on you is sucked into the machine, it cannot be pulled out at all. It must be shut down because the magnetic field of the MRI machine is 30,000 to 60,000 times that of the Earth's magnetic field. Inside is a high-speed rotating magnet. After a person lies down in it, the principle is to form an image through nuclear magnetic resonance. It can quickly reveal lesions in the body. The more areas it detects, the higher the cost. Not only that, the cost of such a machine is as high as tens of millions of dollars. Once an MRI machine is turned on, it can never be turned off, unless there is an accident or the hospital closes. This is because the MRI machine requires a supercooling system. Its interior does not contain water and antifreeze, but uses liquid helium at minus 296 degrees. Once it is turned off or malfunctions, liquid helium must be re-injected. One machine requires 200,000 liters. Restarting it once costs about $60,000.
This is like something out of a Final Destination movie, but it happened in real life. It all went down this past Wednesday afternoon at 4:30 when 911 gets a call for an emergency at NASA Open MRI in Westbury, New York. 61-year-old Keith McAllister had brought his wife Adrian in for an MRI of her knee. Here's where the story starts to differ. Adrian says the technician brought Keith into the room so that he could help her get out of the machine. The employees say Adrian started to shout out for help, which caused Keith to come running into the room. Employees say they were telling him not to open the door because the machine was in use, but he entered regardless. Either way, when Keith McAllister opened the door, the MRI machine started reacting to the 20-pound chain around his neck. The machine started pulling Keith into the machine, choking him. The chain had a large lock on the end, so they weren't able to get it off. And the technician and Adrian tried pulling him away from the machine, but they were unable. Adrian says her husband waved goodbye and his body went limp in her arms. Keith was then transported to a local hospital, but died the next day after succumbing to his injuries.
saw the machine, snatched him around and pulled him into the machine. He went limp in my arm. He waved goodbye to me. And then his whole body went limp. At that instant, the machine switched him around, pulled him in, and he hit the MRI. I'm barely eating. I just can't believe. I still trying to wrap my head around the whole thing.
So now we'll start the day lesson, but one thing about it is that, the Lord will choose your delusion. And one thing about it that, there's no escaping the hands of Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai. So now I start here first with Job chapter 4, one of my favorite here, Job chapter 4 and verse 7, straight to the point. It says here, Job chapter 4 and verse 7, it said, remember, I pray thee, whoever perished being innocent, or were the righteous cut off. So one thing about it, whoever perished being innocent, we all have sinned. So one thing about it, we already know that, the wages of sins are death. So one thing about it, we already knowing that, the Lord is going to hand down that judgment each and every day. A lot of people right now still going over their daily life. A lot of people are still thinking they are happy-go-lucky, a good case, relaxing in their leaves, and all of a sudden, these things right here will come upon you. So a man going is of the Lord. So the Lord already knowing exactly the time and the date down to the minute when you're going to leave from here. That's why, we always constantly warn you left and right. Seek the Lord, early. Seek the Lord while he can be found. And how do you do that? Through his mouthpiece, the prophet, the one that's constantly warning you left and right, telling you to repent and to return to your true power while you still have time. That's why we constantly warn you left and right. This man right here, he woke up that morning, never would have thought that this would happen to him. But the Lord already, direct every man's step. And one thing about it, the Lord is in perfect control. Verse 8 say, even as I have seen they that plow iniquity and sow wickedness, reap the same. So you shall reap what you sow. So one thing about it, you sow in wickedness, you shall reap the same. You sow in righteousness, you shall reap the same. Salvation. You know what I'm saying? Eternal life, man. So we're very close, man. The Lord is not playing. We constantly warn you. Verse 9 said, by the blast of the Almighty they perish. By the breath of his nostril are they consumed. So if you here today, you gone tomorrow, man. We're here. Hey, man, I'm telling you, the Lord is not playing any games, no respect to person. So that dude right there, he had no idea that he's getting ready to leave this earth. One thing about it, that's why we tell you each and every day, get your house in order, get your mind right, get up your lawns, man, because we getting very close, man. The Lord is constantly bringing it, and these prophecies are speaking loud and clear. And one thing about it, we're seeing that these things are lining up just like clockwork. Let's go here to Psalm chapter 68 and verse 20. We see right now the issues of death belongs to the Lord, Salakia. It's got here, it says, he that is our power is the God of salvation, and unto the Almighty, the Lord belongs the issues from death. So one thing about it, the Lord, the issues of death belongs to the Lord. So the Lord, he sanctioned whoever is going to be unalive. So we put it to you like that, It says it once again, it said, in the NLT, he said, so our power is a God who saves. He said, the sovereign Lord rescue us from death. But this part right here is counter. He can rescue you from death, and also he can deliver you to death. You know what I'm saying? So it's plain and simple. The issues of death belong to the Lord. There's no one is going to escape his hand. So right here, we knowing that the Lord is calling these things to happen left and right, but see, a lot of people, thinking that, that this is a tragedy or whatever like that. You hear today, you go on tomorrow. Let's go to this one here in Ecclesiastes. Let's go to this one right here. That the spirit of vengeance, is working overtime, and the Lord is causing these angels. No, let's get this one here in Psalm first. Let's go to Psalm chapter 78. Let's go here first. Psalm chapter 78. Psalm chapter 78. Just a quick lesson through the Spirit. Psalm chapter 78 and verse 49. Psalm chapter 78 And verse 49 said, he cast upon them the fierceness of his anger, said wrath and indignation, a righteous anger, and trouble by sending evil angels among them. So one thing about it, we already know the Lord sought this man up, sought those evil angels to set up this scene where this man would be taken by this MRI, a lot of people call it was an accident. It's no accident when it comes to the Lord. There's no luck, no accident. There's no free will. It is what it is. The Lord calls these things to happen. The Lord said it's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? So that's exactly what's happening. The Lord's constantly sending out these judgment. That's what we constantly warn you about. This is judgment of the Lord. So let's read this once again. Psalm chapter 78 and verse 49 say, he cast upon them the fierceness of his anger, wrath and indignation, or righteous anger, and trouble by sending evil angels among them. So that's exactly what the Lord is doing each and every day. They're doing the bidding of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. So that's where we at, man. We are constantly warning you left and right. Let's get to one here in Hebrews. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 10. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 10. Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 31, straight to the point. Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 31. And it reads as, it is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living power. Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua is a fearful thing because you don't know how you're going to leave from here. That's why we ask the Lord each and every day, to forgive us for our sin in this life also and our past life. You don't know what the hell you did in your past life. That's why we always got to pray, pray without ceasing, ask the Lord to have mercy upon us, to direct our step each and every day, to protect us and guide us, to keep us safe, Lord, and keep her from what? From that hour of temptation also, say, man, we are very close because this devil's getting ready to come down with great wrath. So now let's go here to Proverbs chapter 20. Let's get them right here quick because the Lord direct this man's step. How can a man know his way? So the man woke up. The Lord already had programmed it in his mind. You know what I'm saying? The Lord deal with you in dreams, He insert your instructions in you while you sleep, So I think that's in Job chapter 33, if I'm not mistaken. Let's go here. We're gonna get about one more. We're gonna get out of here. Psalm chapter 20, I think it's around verse 24. There it is right here. Psalm chapter 20, verse 24 said, man's going are of the Lord. How can a man then understand his own way? So this man he didn't think that he just walked on in it because that was the Lord already. This already been written. It's already been laid out what was going to befall this man. So a man going is of the Lord. So the Lord direct this man's step. You know what I'm saying? And it ended up in unaliving. So we seeing this what happening. So that's what the Lord, He caused these things to happen. Left and right. So a lot of people don't understand, the Lord how He works. A lot of people, just like I said, in these church houses and these harlot houses, not Pastor Pork Chop. Lord love everyone. What I'm saying? Love the Lord. What I'm saying? Everyone can be saved. What I'm saying? He's not a violent. What I'm saying? The Lord don't. He's not gonna do anything like that. He's harmless. But one thing about it, you in for a rude awakening. So the Lord direct this man's step. What I'm saying? Just like they said, it's kind of like that movie, Final Destination. So we're very close, so that was his final destination. He left him. Now he's back in his right mind. So he's good now. So one thing about it, he paid for whatever he did in his past life, in this life. What I'm saying? There's no new thing under the sun. So that's why we constantly warning you left and right. Let's get this one right quick. That's why we got to, always say the Lord's will, because we don't know when we walk at the door, what will befall us. If the Lord is not on our side and the Lord don't have the angels camped around you, will be unalive because you already know that the devil is like a roaring lion seeking who he may devour. But one thing about it, the Lord is going to protect his elect. So we're very close. Let's start here. Say we're in. Let's see here. Let's start at verse 15. I'm going to highlight some of this right quick. So, we always must say the Lord will, other one ratazat, Lord willing, that we do this or we do that. Let's see, let's start here. It said, James chapter 4 and verse 15 said, for that ye ought to say, if the Lord's will, we shall live and do this or that. That's right. If it's the Lord's will, he goes, you don't know if you're going to leave here. All us, the day is not promised to us. It's just all up to the Lord, to the Spirit and the power of Yahweh. Verse 16 said, but now ye rejoice in your boasting. All such rejoicing is evil. You see, this ain't this Salakia. I think, let me see. No. Salakia, let me go back up the top. I jumped the gun. I read the last part. I should have came up a little bit more. We're gonna read down to that. Salakia for that. I got a little miscue right there. I hadn't been in this chapter in a minute. Salaki for that. I'll start back up at the top. This is why I want to stop at verse 13. I started at the end, went straight to the point, but I want to get this here and a little bit more edification right here. It said, Job chapter 4, verse 13, it said, go to now, ye that say today or tomorrow, we will go into such a city and continue there a year and buy and sell and get gain. Verse 14 said, whereas ye know not what shall be on the morrow. Said, for what is your life? Said, it is even a vapor that appears for a little time and then vanish away. So you hear today and you go on tomorrow. So, a lot of people, they get up and say what they're going to do. They buying and selling, going on with their daily lives. Like this man went to this doctor appointment with his wife. He tried, his wife called for him to help her. He went to try to go help her, and his days was ended. The Lord went on and brought him home. So, so that's why we always got to say this right here in verse 15. But James chapter 4 and verse 15 said, for that ye ought to say, if the Lord's will, we shall live and do this or that. That's exactly right. That's why we got to say each and every day, when I leave the house each and every day, Lord willing, it's an other one ratazat. If I do this or if I do that, if it's the Lord's will, that I make it another day. One thing about it, we got to trust and believe in Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushua, because the Lord, he can, any given day, the Lord can say, bring him home. You going home. So now, we already know that the Lord is calling these things to happen. He's going to constantly pick up to his great and glorious return. So now, let's go to our last and final script. Let's go here. And also the Lord said he would choose your delusion. You know what I'm saying? Your troubles, your affliction. Because what? When the Lord called, ye did not answer. I've been quoting it. I might as well going to get it. Let's go here to Isaiah chapter 66, Isaiah chapter 66 and verse 4. Let's get it. It says here, so the Lord chose that man delusion. It's a man going is of the Lord. Let's go right with it. It said Isaiah chapter 66 and verse 4 said, I also would choose their delusion. And will bring their fear upon them, because when I called, none did answer. When I spake, they did not hear, but they did evil before my eyes and chose that in which I delighted not. So one thing about it, the Lord, he would choose your delusion. So this man, he chose this man trouble. He chose this man affliction, that was brought upon him. Now, what I'm saying, he is he's going back into the spiritual realm, because one thing about it, don't anyone perish being innocent. So, one thing about it, we're going to see these things pick up left and right. The body count is getting ready to be great. The Lord is constantly handing down that judgment each and every day. So let's go to our last and final script. Let's go to this one in the blue letter, because it brings it out a little bit more. Let's go here to Zephaniah chapter 3. We'll close out here. Zephaniah chapter 3 and verse 5. It says, the just Lord is in the midst thereof. He will not do iniquity every morning. Does he bring his judgment to light? He faileth not, but the unjust knoweth no shame. So right now, the Lord's constantly handing down judgment day by day. And also the Lord said, first my judgment would start at the house of Israel. And one thing, that last part, it says, "In the unjust knows no shame." It's talking about these 2/3. They don't fear the Lord. They don't have faith. And one thing about it, they're in for a rude awakening. So, if it's the Lord's will that you live today or you die today, you know what I'm saying? Hey, so that's why we got to always constantly pray. And we got to constantly ask the Lord to have mercy upon. We got to ask the Lord to direct our steps. Ask the Lord to give us another day, to give us strength, to keep us on in the right path, you know what I'm saying? Protect us, guide us, camp his angels around us each and every day. Because we're coming upon some turbulent times. Because the Lord can bring forth judgment at any given time. You know what I'm saying? That's why you said in Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 31, it's a fearful thing to fall in the hands of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushua. And the Lord also will choose your delusion, your trouble, your affliction, your what? Death. So hey, we are very close, man. The Lord is very close to setting up that righteous order. The Lord is very close to coming back and set everything back in order. That's what we were longing for each and every day. These prophecies are speaking loud and clear. And one thing about it, it's time to consider. It's time to turn back and repent and turn to your true power while you still have time. So the title of the day lesson, once again, is Judgment of the Lord. So I like to give all praises and honor and glory to Yahweh Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai Ba'ashim, Rekah Kwadash. I like to say, Shalom, Shalom.